So anyway, book में भी दिया है, but just to understand clouds है क्या चीज, various types of clouds and how these clouds are basically formed. So this is what we have. We see these clouds daily of course, but we don't pay so much attention कि यार हमने क्या लेना है. But clouds nature की एक ऐसी चीज़ है, you can predict lot of amount of weather, what type of weather I am going to experience. चलो वो तो आपके लिए, we'll briefly touch on that. So basically clouds है क्या चीज़? If somebody asks you what is cloud, so it is in a simple way. Now we have seen these various types, common types of clouds in atmosphere, high clouds, middle clouds, low clouds. So इनकी जो terminology है, of course now it is very simplified. So we will see how according to their heights they are basically named. High clouds 6 kilometer to tropopause and इनके साथ prefix है 0. And medium clouds 2 kilometer to 6, or rather we start from the ground level. Low clouds sea level to 2 kilometers. And then medium clouds 2 to 6 kilometer, prefix alto, and high clouds 6 to tropopause, up to where we study the meteorology. Iska prefix is 0. So 0 stratus, cirrus clouds, and alto stratus, alto cumulus. So these are the medium clouds. So इनकी terminology आई कैसे वो भी हम देखेंगे. Now cloud है क्या चीज़? A cloud is a visible aggregate of tiny water droplets and or ice crystals suspended in atmosphere. In very simple language, cloud is a visible collection, aggregate of tiny water droplets or ice crystals suspended in atmosphere and can exist in a variety of shapes and sizes. These are very small droplets of water which have found a nucleus like a water or dust. उसके ऊपर ये condensation हुई and they all together they appear to us as clouds. So some clouds are accompanied by precipitation, rain, snow, hail, and some are just showing us as it is. Now if you see the states of water, water can exist in basically 3 states, isn't it? Solid, liquid, and gas. And all these 3 states, if you see, solid means snow, liquid rain, and gas water vapor. So these are the states of water which basically get converted from water to either water vapor and then water vapor condensing back into the rain. Clouds, snow, and rain are all made up of some form of water. A cloud is a compromised of tiny water droplets or ice crystals. A snowflake is an aggregate of many ice crystals and rain is just a liquid water. Now, water existing as a gas is called water vapor. A lot of time in meteorology we study what is a water vapor, moisture, humidity. All these things means the air is containing water vapor. So when referring to the amount of moisture in the air, we are actually referring to the amount of water vapor. If the air is described as moist, that means the air contains large amount of water vapor. Or if the air is dry, अभी तक तो air dry है, now slowly you feel, or you will find when the monsoon is coming, monsoon is approaching, when all the moist air from the Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean starts blowing toward this side, it will be fully laden with the moisture and you start feeling that humid weather. Now when air is cooled below its dew point, of clouds है क्या चीज? When the air is cooled below its dew point temperature, excess water vapor condenses onto the minute particles of water. So ये भी हमने देख लिया, and simple phenomena में कि how this air gets cooled. So when the air starts rising, so it loses its temperature. Temperature starts decreasing, and एक stage आएगी when this air becomes fully saturated. उससे ज़्यादा अगर इसकी cooling हुई, then it cannot hold the water vapor. The water vapor starts condensing. So clouds are made of tiny drops of water or ice crystals that settle on dust particles in the atmosphere. So the droplets are so small, a diameter of about 100th of a millimeter, that each cubic meter of air will contain about 100 million droplets. That's why we see them as something like a foam. They are so small. Clouds will either be composed of ice or water droplets depending on the height of the cloud and the temperature of the atmosphere. And because the droplets are so small, they can remain in liquid form in temperatures as low as minus 30 degrees centigrade. So extremely high clouds where the temperature is low, they are composed of even ice crystals. Can form at any height from 8 kilometer above poles to 13.5 kilometers, जहाँ आपका tropopause starts. So there is no limit. And that's why these clouds are low level, high level, and medium level clouds are there. तो ये जो नाम आए आपके low level, high level, and all that, these naming of course is done by World Meteorological Organization. उससे पहले जो नाम थे इनके, they were again based on the different languages. So name and description of various clouds have been agreed internationally by WMO, World Meteorological Organization. And some of the words are derived from the Latin words. Cirrus meaning thread. So these are all the Latin words. Cumulus means heap of something, cumulus. Stratus, layer. Nimbus, grey rain cloud, and fractus means broken. So यहीं से इन्होंने इनके further नाम जो है, further classification, the present classification is an amplification and combination of these names. So briefly, cirrus clouds are feathery or fibrous, cumulus cauliflower shaped, and stratus more or less shapeless or homogeneous layer. So basically, if you see, cloud types are further divided into three groups based on their height. So इनकी जो classification है, it is as per the height: high clouds, medium clouds, and low clouds. So as we have seen this, low clouds, if you see, average height 2000 meters, 2 kilometers, from near surface level to about 2 kilometers. And इसमें clouds कौन से हैं? Stratus, nimbostratus, and stratocumulus. तो उनकी ये abbreviation भी है ST, NS, SC. And clouds marked with very high vertical extent, they also can exist up to 14,000 meters. Cumulus, cumulonimbus, they can reach quite high areas because it depends their formation. Medium clouds 2 kilometer to about 5,000 or 5.5 kilometers. और इनकी नेमिंग ऑल्टो क्यूमुलस, ऑल्टो स्ट्रेटस. तो ऑल्टो लग जाएगा इनके नाम ACAS. तो ये एब्रीवेशन हमें कई बार हो सकता है वेदर कोडिंग में भी काम आए कि वहाँ पे भी लिखता है AC is present. AC is present means ऑल्टो क्यूमुलस क्लाउड is present. AS is present, ऑल्टो स्ट्रेटस clouds are present. High clouds are simple cirrus, very commonly seen about 5.5 or 6 kilometer above 14,000 or 14 kilometer. So these clouds are, you see up in the sky, absolutely fibrous type of cloud. दिखता ही दूर से दिखता है very high cloud. Cirrocumulus, cirrostratus. So these are all the high clouds. How they look like? This is a few images. That cirrus cloud, you can see this fibrous, and this is a very good indication. These clouds are a very good indication of storm. If there is a tropical revolving storm or somewhere far away, these clouds actually point towards the direction of the storm. They blow because they are high clouds. These winds blow these clouds very far away. So काफी दूर तक आप इन clouds को देख के you can make out the center of the storm. Silvery high clouds appearing like feathers always have background of blue sky and often appear bright red or yellow on dark nights. Can be detected only by dimming effect on the stars. So they are not so thick, इतने overcast नहीं करते. So you can see very faintly, you can see the stars also. Cirrostratus are transparent high clouds. Large areas of sky sometimes produce white colored rings, spots or arcs of light, what we call the halo phenomena. If you see the sun or the moon, it appears like a halo, it appears like a ring. So this is very typical of cirrostratus clouds. And sometimes they are so thin, the halo is only the indication that cirrostratus cloud is in the sky. So here आपको, of course not at this stage you will be able to learn, but over a period of time, if you have interest, then only you keep watching, comparing, and then you see यार ये कौन सा cloud है. Otherwise we see these type of clouds daily. This is cirrocumulus, again by looks only that it is very high cloud, high layer of cloud in the form of small flakes or cauliflower, white in color with no dark shadows in between. High clouds आपने देखे mostly cirrus and all that, they are pure white. Altostratus, now this is again the medium clouds, medium height, thin greyish or bluish veil of cloud through which sun or moon appears very dim. And the outline of the sun, moon hazy, not clear. and it is again dark shadow like patches may be seen due to variation. So this is again difficult to recognize. ये clouds easy हैं पहचानने, altocumulus, layer type white or grey both in color, dark shadows in between, so they are not covering the whole sky but in patches, and regular patterns may be aligned in one or sometimes two directions. Particular direction में ये align होते चले जाएंगे. You can make out there is a low pressure or strong winds blowing from one place to another place. Stratus cloud, this is again low clouds. Now we have come to the low clouds near the ground level. ये जो clouds हैं आपकी visibility को भी affect करेंगे. Low even layer dark lake with light and dark patches, dark look and does not cause precipitation. So ये जो है इस like a, अगर land पे आएगा तो we call it a fog. थोड़ा higher up the land we call it a clouds. Resembles fog but it is not experienced at sea level. It's only on land. Can obscure sun. Small patches of stratus spread out and fractostratus type. So they, agar they are low level, of course they are not much, they don't form much at sea, but on land they can affect the visibility on land. Nimbostratus, again low even layer dark grey cloud, generally uniform, and again rain, wet look, precipitation takes place continuous. So nimbostratus, cumulonimbus, they are basically the rain clouds. Stratocumulus, again dark grey clouds. Consist of layer or patches of globular masses, grey in color. Patches generally align themselves in regular pattern, and again little bit of threatening type. Cumulus, very heap type clouds, brilliant white thick clouds with flat bases, and outline of each cloud is very clear. Maybe small patches, ragged edges, but little vertical extent. Precipitation, of course light. We have seen these clouds when we look at the sky. हमसे नहीं यार बारिश नहीं आएगी. Why? Because we can see the blue patches of sky. But इनके साथ अगर in case you have, there is a possibility isolated showers can be there with these type of clouds. Cumulonimbus, yes, this is a totally a rain cloud. The moment you see this cloud, it is 100% कि आपको heavy rains मिलेंगी ही मिलेंगी. So ये तो आपके थे various types of clouds. Now question हमें आता है the formation, cloud formation and development. So सबसे पहले तो we have to understand what is this adiabatic heating and cooling. थोड़ा सा तो हमने इसके बारे में पढ़ा था. So when a body of air is subjected to an increase in pressure, now adiabatic heating is without applying any heat or without applying any cooling effect, how this air gets heated up. So when a body of air is subjected to increase in pressure, it undergoes compressional heating as opposed to thermal heating. जैसे आपने compressor में देखा होगा, compressor when compresses the air, तो हवा गर्म हो जाती है. रेफ्रिजरेशन में भी आपने देखा, शिप पे भी देखा होगा. If the same body of air is subjected to reduction in pressure, अब ये है कि आपने हवा को कंप्रेस किया तो गर्म हो जाती है. वेरी सिंपल एग्जांपल इस फुटबॉल पंप या आपका साइकिल पंप. आप उसको कंटिन्यूसली पंप कीजिए, यू विल सी कि आपकी जो पाइप है, हवा की जो पाइप है, गर्म होनी शुरू हो जाती है. सो दिस इज कॉल्ड द एडियाबेटिक हीटिंग, दैट यूर द एयर जस्ट बाय कंप्रेशन इट इज गेटिंग हीटेड अप. एंड सेम उसका अपोजिट, अगर इसी एयर को इफ इट इज सब्जेक्टेड टू रिडक्शन इन प्रेशर, आप इस एयर को इसका प्रेशर रिड्यूस कर दे तो इट गेट्स अ मोर ओपन स्पेस, देन उसका टेम्परेचर कम हो जाता है. दैट्स व्हाई यू सी व्हेन द एयर स्टार्ट्स राइजिंग देयर इज अ रिडक्शन इन प्रेशर, इट गेट्स मोर स्पेस टू एक्सपैंड. सो व्हेन द एयर एक्सपैंड्स, उसका टेम्परेचर जो है कम हो जाएगा. For example, in the former case, temperature of air in bicycle pump increased when vigorously compressed, and later case when the compressed gas is released from a cylinder, its temperature falls. CO2 सिलेंडर वेरी कॉमन. जैसे आप CO2 रिलीज करोगे, वो गैस अंदर से हाई प्रेशर पे होती है. व्हेन प्रेशर इज रिलीज, इट गेट्स कूल्ड, एंड इट गेट्स सो कूल्ड इवन आइस जम जाती है उसकी फनल के ऊपर. तो आपका CO2 सिलेंडर है, CO2 एक्सटिंग्विशर. सो यही प्रोसेस आपका एटमॉस्फेयर में लगता है. एटमॉस्फेरिक प्रेशर डिक्रीजेज विद हाइट. Thus, if a body of air rises through the surrounding air, it undergoes reduction in pressure and cooled adiabatically. Conversely, if it sinks, it is subjected to increase in pressure. So if the air rises, the pressure also decreases and the temperature also falls. Now, इसी चीज के लिए rising air, a key process in the production of clouds and precipitation. Now, imagine a block of air or air parcel rising upward toward the atmosphere. The air parcel expands as it rises, and this expansion or work causes the temperature of air to fall. Now, imagine this is a parcel of air which is rising. So, as this parcel of air rises, basically the temperature will fall because it is getting enough space to expand. And as the parcel rises, its humidity also increases until it reaches 100%. So, जैसे ही इस air का temperature, if it has got a moisture, it has got some quantity of water vapor. So, when this water vapor, when the temperature of this air starts falling, why it is rising, it is expanding, the temperature is falling, the relative humidity of this basically air will start increasing. And वो एक stage आएगी when it becomes 100%. So when unsaturated air is forced to rise, it will expand and cool adiabatically. If the ascent continues long enough, it will reach its dew point and become saturated. Further upward motion will result in condensation. अब अगर आपने dew point से ज़्यादा ये फिर still rise कर रही है, temperature falls, then इसके अंदर जितना water vapor है, it will condense into the what we call into the water droplets. And if they find any nuclei like a dust particles, these water particles condense onto those and they start forming a clouds. Now cloud की formation अगर आप देखिए, surface heating. Now this happens when the ground is heated by sun, which heats the air in contact. आप ये कि air rising के various methods are there. One is due to the heat. Nowadays, like the sun is too hot, it warms up the earth, and the air in contact with the earth also starts getting warmed up and starts rising. So when this rising columns, often called thermals, so this surface heating tends to produce cumulus clouds. दूसरा है आपका टोपोग्राफी और orographic forcing. वो कैसे है? टोपोग्राफी और शेप और फीचर्स ऑफ द एरिया कैन कॉज क्लाउड्स टू बी फॉर्म. प्लेन से आप माउंटेन्स की तरफ जा रहे हो, रास्ते में माउंटेन आता है, दिस एयर हैज टू, इट इज ब्लोइंग लो प्रेशर टू हाई प्रेशर, isn't it? High pressure to low pressure side. So whether mountain comes, so it will start rising. When it starts rising again, temperature comes down and clouds will form. So उसे हम topography rising कहते हैं. Third is frontal. तो ये तो briefly है, इसको हम थोड़ा देखेंगे. Clouds are formed when a mass of warm air rises over a mass of cold air. So frontal formation of clouds is also due to the fronts. Convergence, streams of air flowing from different directions forced to rise. So basically अगर आप देखिए सब में क्या हो रहा है, rising of the air, and which is the main cause of formation of clouds. Turbulence, sudden change in wind direction with height creating turbulent eddies, then also the air starts rising. Now turbulence में देखिए अगर strong winds blowing over uneven ground strike against the various obstructions and the air gets deflected upwards and starts rising. So causes thorough mixing of air as the air rises and it gets adiabatically cooled. Now, if during this process the air gets cooled below its dew point, clouds will form. So these clouds will be of even layer stratus types. So first method आपका turbulence से है, how the clouds are formed by turbulence. So that we have seen, strong winds blowing over uneven ground strike against the various obstructions and it starts rising. Thorough mixing starts and it starts rising, and as its temperature decreases, the clouds will form. So किस type के cloud होंगे? Layer type stratus, low clouds. Their basis will generally be not more than 600 meters. So turbulence clouds are all low clouds. Air is maritime, moisture laden, blows over cold uneven ground, great quantity of clouds can form. And over sea, wind speed of more than 13 knots can produce sea waves of sufficient height to create turbulence. Now sea surface अगर smooth है तब तो air को obstruction नहीं मिलती, but if there are high waves, then also it gets a obstruction like this. If you see, ये आपकी सरफेस है, इट इज अनइवन, छोटे हिल्स हैं, कहीं पे छोटे छोटे कुछ ना कुछ ऑब्स्ट्रक्शन है, देन दिस एयर गेट्स थॉरली मिक्स्ड अप एंड बेसिकली इट स्टार्ट्स राइजिंग. जैसे ही राइज करेगी टेम्परेचर विल फॉल, एंड इफ इट फॉल्स ह्यूमिडिटी विल इंक्रीज. 100% ह्यूमिडिटी हुई, फिर अगर ये और राइज कर रही है तो क्लाउड फॉर्मेशन विल टेक प्लेस. सो दिस इज द फर्स्ट मेथड, द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ क्लाउड्स बाय टर्बुलेंस. अब है आपका ओरोग्राफिक लिफ्टिंग. Now orographic lifting is we have understood due to the mountain. जहाँ से air is blowing from one place to another place, उसके रास्ते में mountain आ जाता है, the air starts rising. Stop तो होगी नहीं, so it will start rising. जैसे वो rise करना शुरू करेगी, so temperature will fall. So when a warm moist wind blows against a mountain range, it begins to climb up the mountain side. So during this ascent, it cools adiabatically, and after cooling below its dew point, orographic clouds are formed. So these are also stratus type, and if the mountain is quite high, further ascent results in nimbostratus and continuous rain. I don't know how many of you passed the Gibraltar Rock. So that is a very good example of this orographic lifting. Normally वो rock दिखती नहीं है, normally these clouds are there. Why? Because of this process orographic liftings. But sometime you are lucky that we used to say, जब हम पास करते थे तो पुराने ज़माने के कैमरा, अरे यार I could see the Gibraltar Rock. कैसा कैसा उसका clouds होंगे, नहीं यार इस बारी clouds नहीं थे. So this is one of the examples that if therefore appears, यहाँ पे stratiform clouds, Cape of Gibraltar, tablecloth of or table mountain of South Africa. So this is also, these are what we call the orographic lifting. So all these clouds on the windward side of the mountain, you see these clouds forming, where on the other side the air starts coming down. It starts coming down. Naturally opposite will happen. Rising a time में तो temperature falls. Now when the air starts sinking, the temperature will start rising. So humidity भी कम होनी शुरू हो जाएगी, and there is no cloud formation on the other side of the mountain. तो आप home wind effect भी जिसे कहते हैं. This is the best thing, that evaporation taking place, and this evaporation से air is rising and it gets obstruction towards the mountain and starts rising up, and this cloud formation takes place. Third method is convection. Convection में कैसे है? When a parcel of air gets heated due to local cause, it expands because less dense than the surrounding air and it rises. This is called convection current. So हमने भी देखा, if we see the water boiling, so convection current starts. The same thing is in the atmosphere. When a parcel of air is getting heated up due to any cause, so वो भी expand होगा, starts rising, it becomes less dense than the surrounding air and starts rising. And this is called again a convection current will set up. So this local heating can be caused by contact with warm sea or ground. And so long as the parcel is warmer than the surrounding air at each level, it will continue to rise unstable condition. And during this ascent, the rising air cools adiabatically, and when cooled below its dew point, condensation takes place, resulting in convection clouds, always cumulus type. So greater the ascent, जितनी air जो है rise करती जाएगी, उतना greater vertical extent of the clouds you will find. So this is again three basically methods आपके turbulence, orographic lifting, convection, and fourth is again your frontal. Now convection में again anvil type, or the top of the cloud then spread sideways resembling an anvil. This is called anvil shaped cumulonimbus, which are causing very heavy rains. And anvil consists of ice crystals and a cirrus cloud. Of course, high clouds, they don't cause so much rain as much your cumulonimbus and nimbostratus, the low clouds, and they cause the rain. So इसके लिए over the sea there is little change of air temperature during day and night, hence cloud development is very little. However, clouds may develop over sea at night due to cooling caused by radiation of heat in space. And cloud development over sea therefore is opposite to that over land. That's why you see certain areas you may get a fog, but near the coastal areas, yes, you start seeing the cloud formation because of the land effect. So convection ka, this is a very good example of how this convection cloud formation takes place. This is the sun warming up the surface, evaporation of water takes place, and then this air, which contains basically water vapor, it starts rising due to the getting heated up. So this is called this rising thermals. So this rising currents जो हैं, when they are rising, अब इसके side की जो air है हो सकती है ठंडी हो बाद में, but this warm air with the temperature difference it will start rising, and sometimes these thermals go very high up in the sky because it depends on the situation, कैसी condition. So first thing is the evaporation. Second, warm moist layer builds up in the lowest level. Third, rising air currents organize into thermals, and then water vapor in the rising air parcel condenses to form clouds. This is a convection का एक very simple phenomena. आप भी sketch बना सकते हैं in case question आएगा. What are the various type of clouds? What are the various methods of formation of clouds? So इनको आप दिखा सकते हैं. Last is your frontal lifting. ये अभी हमने fronts पढ़े नहीं है. Fronts is nothing. It is basically when two air masses, like we have one cold air mass and one is a warm air mass. When these two air masses come in contact with each other, so their line of separation is normally known as front. So air mass जब हम पढ़ेंगे, you will be able to understand better what are these air mass क्या होता है, front क्या होता है, and what is the weather associated with these type of clouds. So boundary between them is not vertical, it is inclined towards the colder air mass, because the cold air being denser act as a wedge and lifts up the warm air. So in case of warm front, the slope is gradual and the resulting warm air forms stratification clouds. Now you can see from this figure that there are two different air masses are basically coming. This is the warm air and this is the cold air. So cold air has a tendency to lift up this warm air. So this is the cold front, what we call the cold air mass is blowing towards this warm air mass. So ये दोनों जब मिलेंगे, इनकी जो boundary है, that we call it a front. So this cold air definitely heavy रहती है, it will definitely stay down and has a tendency to lift up the warm air. So ये जो lifting है, same rising, air की lifting हुई, rising हुई, it will start getting cooled, and if it is cooled below the dew point, condensation will take place. So this is how your frontal formation of the clouds takes place. So these are the basically few types that you have how your cloud formation takes place: warm fronts, cold front, and others. So weather associated with cloud types, of course, आपके level पे इतना नहीं है what is the weather associated, but by the time you become masters, so you will be definitely very thorough with this. You will be studying this, that you can make out. But even at your level as a second officer navigator, थोड़ा तो interest हमें भी रहता. So even if you ask me, we also can see when we see these dark threatening clouds, nimbus stratus या cumulonimbus, तो हमें भी पता है कि अब तो बारिश आने वाली है, isn't it? So this much, I think every seafarer can make out. The idea of making out is what? When you can make out something, what type of clouds you can see when you are standing on the bridge. The idea as a duty officer is to inform the other people. So if you know the weather, so that you can inform the deck, you can inform the bosun, there is expected. You have the weather report with you, you can see the sky with you, you can see far away what type of clouds are there. तो इसकी जो application है, so ये जो हम पढ़ रहे हैं, इसकी application भी तो कुछ होनी चाहिए, otherwise पढ़ने का फायदा. So this is the use, that if you can make out weather, you can inform various people. Some people, maybe some deck work is going on, they have opened up something, they are doing painting, de-rusting, कुछ भी, so many works keep on going on. So अगर as a duty officer you inform कि भैया थोड़ी देर में और बारिश आने वाली है, so please scare up, please patch up, कुछ ना कुछ कर लीजिए. So they also have a regard कि duty officer is very active and he is also taking interest. And as a duty officer, अब ये तो है नहीं, अब तक तो आपके happy days थे, limited thinking, limited job. But tomorrow when you become what you call the duty officer, तब तो सब कुछ आपके पास आ जाएगा, isn't it? So even bad weather, I don't know how many of you are doing. So if you see that weather report where it is showing there is a bad weather, so we inform everybody, we inform engine room, we inform the galley staff that there is going to be a bad weather, the ship might be rolling, so please secure the things, isn't it? उनको तो कुछ नहीं पता, वो तो अंदर काम कर रहे हैं. So you are the person who's got the reports, who can see in the open what type of weather you are facing, what type of wind, waves. So ये चीज जो है, this is also part of the duty officers, this thing, responsibility, and people will also feel happy. चलो यार, otherwise जैसे यार क्या कर रहे, ब्रिज को पता भी था, हमें बताया ही, isn't it? Sometimes it happens even night time. So this is a very basic seamanship we used to do. that evening before people knock off. So we used to tell them, and sometimes even if you see old bosuns, so they will come and they will see. So they also, without the weather report, they can make out. See, they also see उनका experience and they look at the clouds. वो क्या करते हैं? इसी से ही weather associated करते हैं. They look at these clouds and then they can make out. यार रात को weather खराब होने वाला है या बारिश आने वाली है. So they cover up everything, isn't it? Sometimes we have port cleaning going on. So many things are going on. Hatches may be open. So ये जो है weather, of course I will not discuss this. I'll send you these notes. पढ़ लीजिए इसको. What type of weather associated with various types of clouds. So ये भी of course stratus, nimbostratus, किस type का cloud है, which clouds are what we call basically associated with heavy rains and which clouds are not associated with rain. So हमारी thinking for a timing is limited up to this only, isn't it? That I should be able to predict little in advance so that the ship is all the time not in trouble. So this is all we have this. So please go through this. Book में भी है जो आपको अच्छा लगता है जहाँ से भी understand and then write the answer that what are the various types of clouds. आपको क्वेश्चन यही है which are the various types. Even oral में भी पूछ सकते हैं कि यार what are the various types. तो थोड़ा सा नाम याद कर लीजिए. Low clouds, medium clouds and high clouds and their formation by turbulence, by orographic lifting, by convection, by frontal lifting. So at least 20 marks का question आता है. You can very easily write. 12-15 marks आप easily ले सकते हो. Sketches बना दिए तो और भी impressive, isn't it? That's why I've shown you few of these sketches which are, of course, they are in the book also. So if you can make this convection के लिए, you can make this orographic lifting के लिए. I think anybody can make a slight mountain and show this, and convection के लिए how this turbulence due to the obstructions over the land, these clouds can form. ठीक है. So clouds के लिए तो इतना ही है. So I don't want to start the fog. Fog हम next topic में करेंगे. So there is lot of things written. I'll send you अगर आपको time मिले. You can go through the weather associated with these clouds and precipitation, rain. ये आप सब पढ़ सकते हो. There's nothing more to make you understand what is this rain, how this precipitation takes place, snow, sleet क्या होता है. So these are all things I think will be of some interest to you. चलो ठीक है. Okay. So anything else, any questions from your side? So after reading, I hope you should be able to know how this cloud forms, how the rain takes place, and what are the basic little bit of weather, what you can predict, or how these clouds are helpful. Of course, nature gives us lot of things. Cloud formation से देखो आपको पहले warning दे देते. If clouds are there, that अपना सामान संभाल लीजिए, is going to rain. This is the nature's best way of teaching. Give you indication. हाँ, अगर आप नहीं समझते, नहीं देखते, then फिर आपके बुक्स गीली होती हैं या कपड़े गीले होते हैं, then it is up to you. चलो, that's all I have for the day. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, dear. Bye bye. Have your lunch and be ready for your next class. And take care. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Welcome, बच्चे. Welcome.